On Urban Planet, you have often seen the softer side of the pet industry, stories of pet salons or pet hotels. But today we take you to another world, a world you've perhaps heard of but not seen, where pets might be cuddly but are hardly treated so. A world that shows the ugly underbelly of the pet trade and takes it into the domain of wildlife trafficking. Right from the heart of South Mumbai, let's travel in the urban jungle to uncover what can only be called an untamed enterprise. Mumbai's Crawford Market, perhaps the city's oldest market, owned by the municipality, where private vendors sell everything from vegetables to fruits to pets. But as our hidden cameras found out, there's a dark, ugly side hidden behind the sturdy walls. A bustling, illegal but blatantly open trade in endangered animals. As we walk around the market, pretending to be on the hunt for an exotic pet, shopkeepers offer us star tortoises, smuggled in from Singapore. Star turtles are a critically endangered species and are used in Chinese cooking. Years of trafficking have led to their extinction in countries like Burma, where they were once found in abundance. Also on offer, African grey parrots, illegally brought in from West Africa. The African grey parrots' numbers, despite anti-poaching efforts, have been dwindling in the forests of Cameroon, Kenya and Uganda. The trade in these species helped the military finance the war in the Democratic Republic of Congo and is banned under international laws. But here it's openly being traded, as are other birds like eagles, cockatiels, budgerys. All illegal and for sale as pets. Also under threat and ready for sale is the common Indian green parrot, a protected species under the Indian Wildlife Protection Act, just like the mongoose. Even more shocking was what was offered to us behind closed doors by not one but several shop owners.
मैडम दूसरी हमें प्रोफेशनल लाइफ और टाइगर का कितना आता है 2 लाख मिनिमम 2 लाख बोलो लेपर बोलो टाइगर बोलो भी 3 लाख मिलेगा क्या बात कर वो तो मेन तो पालना है ना पालना उसका लाइसेंस मिलता है उसको मिलने के लिए मिल सकता है इसलिए लेके घूमेंगे के साथ वो तो प्रॉब्लम है डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर के लिए के बाद तो देखना ही पड़ेगा कि कोई पावर भी ऐसा पैक किया तो वो इससे आप नहीं पाल सकता बस लेपर नहीं लेपर मिलेगा अच्छा रहेगा आपको सबको अभी एक मिल गया वो तो बहुत मिल रहा है अभी बोरेली में सब मार रहे हैं लेपर ऊपर है बहुत सुंदर बना रहा है गंदगी की बात नहीं कर रहा है गंदगी आपको 2-3 दिन नहीं मिलेगा वो नहीं बाहर में कपड़ा मैं सामने से छोटे बच्चा दूंगा आपको इतना मैं बड़ा नहीं दूंगा वो कैसे डिलीवरी नहीं करते हाँ डिलीवरी दूंगा ना तो एकदम बच्चा रहेगा 10-12 दिन बच्चा है नॉर्मल सब कुत्ते रखेगा अगर पेड़ का बच्चा है
A claim made literally across the street from the police commissioner's office, a stone's throw from the municipality that owns the market. But it's not just the well-organized trade that is worrying. It's also the ruthless conditions in which these protected species are kept. Birds, dogs, exotic animals held in cages much too small even for a single animal. Activists say many die even before they are bought. But ask shopkeepers and they flatly deny it. Well, if what you've seen isn't horrifying enough, here's the double whammy. All these shops exist legally and have been issued licenses under the Bombay Shops and Licenses Act by the city's civic authority. The BMC is aware of what's being sold here and says it can do nothing about it. They insist they only hand out the licenses to run the shops, and whatever else is being sold within it is simply not their problem. In RTI applications, the BMC will gladly accept these shops exist, doing what they do. But ask them why these illegal businesses run out of BMC property are not being shut down, and this is what you will hear.
हमारा डायरेक्टली नो कंट्रोल ओवर देम, क्योंकि हमारा तो कुछ, हम तो खाली जगह प्रोवाइड करते हैं।
उनको कुछ सजा नहीं मिलती है अगर ये
सजा देना वो तो कोर्ट मैटर है, वो तो।
It's this pass the buck attitude that has wildlife campaigners like actor John Abraham baffled.
We forget out here is I'm not talking about gold, diamonds or nuggets. I'm talking about a living being. It's like selling your child in a marketplace and saying that you want a white child, you want a black child, you want an Asian child, I'll pull out a child for you. It's as sad as that. If an NDTV can go there and take stuff on a hidden camera, for God's sake, it's happening.
John, the face of the PETA campaign against animal trafficking, recently wrote to the State Minister for Forests asking that Crawford Market's illegal ways be put to an end. He is still awaiting action against his letter. But if previous instances are anything to go by, little will happen. 10 years ago, the Bombay High Court set up a committee to suggest ways to bring the illegal trade at Crawford Market and in all of Mumbai to a halt. Even that committee, by its own admission, is a toothless panel.
Whenever the committee calls for a meeting, all the government officials do not attend the meeting. There is somebody or the other not coming for the meeting. Plus, whenever the committee tries to organize such raids, there is always leak of information.
A lack of interest on behalf of government agencies that are allowing the trade of animals protected under various national and international laws. And if all of this wasn't enough, the government's losing more than just endangered animals. It's losing money. Those legally importing pedigree dogs and other exotic animals are required to pay customs duty, something these traders simply do not do. Evident from the letter written to PETA by the Ministry of Environment and Forests. The ministry says in the past 2 years it has not cleared the import of any protected species. But one visit to a market like Crawford Market could show the ministry officials just how openly that claim is a blatant lie. And so, till the state and central governments decide to honour their own laws, the pawning off of our wildlife seems set to continue. So how does the trade function and continue to flourish beyond borders? How does it manage to stay out of the reach of the law? As we found out, it was a complex web of people using a variety of routes, misusing legal methods, fabricating documents. All of which not just point to how well the traffickers are networked, but to a more dangerous, disturbing linkage between them and the local officials who are meant to protect wildlife, but are instead selling it off to the highest bidder. It's a lucrative trade that spans countries and continents, where animals and birds are trafficked across borders through airplanes and cargo carriers, using the same channels as legal importers. But unlike those traders who use legal channels with proper paperwork, those trafficking wildlife falsify certificates, use multiple means of transport via multiple routes, and camouflage their live merchandise, caging animals and birds inside boxes with hidden compartments, mixing them with legal shipments.
Unless we have specific information, we will not come to know or catch hold of the things.
It is estimated that 350 million animals and plants are traded every year in a market which is worth more than $20 billion US. More than a quarter of this trade, well over $5 billion, is illegal, making it second only to the narcotics trade. But while millions of dollars are spent worldwide to fight the drugs trade, not even a fraction of that amount is spent to prevent the killing and trapping of wild animals and birds. Those involved in the trade are mostly highly organized cross-border syndicates and involve a large supply chain, ranging from tribals and poachers who trap or kill an animal to the transporter who moves it to the market. There are 3 main trade routes in and out of India, from Delhi to Nepal and then on to Tibet and China. From West Bengal across the porous border to Bangladesh and then on to the Far East. From the mountains of Sikkim, Nagaland and Meghalaya to China. Other than these routes, ports like the ones in Mumbai and airports like Chennai and Hyderabad are also transit points for wildlife. These trade routes are also used to smuggle other illegal goods like guns, ammunition and narcotics, especially in the northeast where insurgency has kept the trade in wildlife and wildlife products alive and funded the buying of weapons and ammunition, like in the early 90s during the Bodo land struggle in Assam. Nearly all the rhinos in the Manas National Park were poached to finance the war, and aiding them were several forest guards. For them, money from a single rhino horn was several times their annual salaries.
Essentially, I don't think Indian wildlife has ever gone through the crises that it's going through right now. We have some of the world's finest laws. In fact, our laws would be an example for other countries to follow, but the implementation of our law is so abysmal.
Conservationists have been asking for a wildlife crime unit to be set up in India for the last 10 years, a demand that's finally been accepted and is set to start by the end of January. India's wildlife, it seems, may still have some hope. Exotic birds and animals make for expensive pets, with specific wants and needs that those who buy them cannot often sustain. So either they end up as dead meat or are abandoned to fend for themselves. The idea perhaps if they came from the wild, they can probably fend for themselves too. But the sad part is, in our concrete jungles, they simply cannot. There is some hope for them though, in orphanages that provide them with special care. Imtiaz Jaleel visited one such orphanage in Pune.
It's an orphanage and a rescue center where birds and animals which are either confiscated or rescued by the forest department are brought here for proper care.
This orphanage was set up in 91 when we started getting a number of small birds and along with snakes at the rescue center, at the snake rescue center which we had set up. So we have various people, volunteers, the forest department bringing in animals to us which are kept here for as long as it takes for them to get able to survive on their own in the wild, and then they are rehabilitated. Nobody is made a pet of and nobody is kept captive forever as far as possible.
And now you have a huge collection of birds and animals.
We have an enormous collection of various things, and then the forest department started appreciating our efforts. So they do stuff like when they confiscate these bears, for example, from the Madaris, those dancing bear fellows, they confiscate them from there and give them to us.
But how does it function? Do you have support from the government, the Pune Municipal Corporation or the other agencies?
Yes.
Or it's entirely the job of an NGO?
No. The corporation supports us. The land belongs to the corporation. The corporation also helps us in giving us certain funds, especially our salaries for our people, and a certain amount of feed and stuff they take care of. But the rest of it all depends on charitable donations by people and other organizations. So, which is how we function.
Now tell me, what is actually the government's policy as far as rescued animals are concerned?
The government's policy on as far as rescued animals is concerned is that there are the Indian rescued animals which belong to India, the indigenous animals, will all be brought here and if possible will be released back into the wild at the soonest opportunity. but the animals are exotic animals which say have been brought in from abroad. They need to have certain papers with them, the CITES papers with them. If you don't have those papers which prove their lineage and their fact that they are disease free and they are, you know, totally in the government's good book, so to speak, then they will be confiscated from the person who has kept them.
And you have some lovely pairs of marmosets. Where did you get this?
These were also confiscated from somebody who had brought them in illegally. In fact, they've been here for so long that now she's had a pair of babies. I think she's sitting inside in the box.
But do you agree that the law is not very strict as far as these endangered
No, they're
animals
not.
and
It's
birds are
not
concerned,
strict
and that's
enough.
the reason why people exploit it
Yes.
to their advantage?
Yes, that is true. It is true.
You have still number of markets in India, open
Oh
markets where
yes,
these birds.
oh yes. Yes, there are markets and there are dealers all over the country who will sell you anything that you ask for. I mean, anything that you want, they will sell. And most unscrupulous fellows who will be smuggling in, say for example, tortoises. Just the other day, a number of tortoises was caught in by the Bombay Customs fellows. You know, they were smuggling it out of India. So there are markets everywhere for them, everywhere.
Well, that's all the time we have on the show today, but if you have a story in your city that you think we should cover, then write in to us at urbanplanet@ndtv.com or SMS us at 56388. But for now, you can catch all of today's stories on animal trafficking on our website at www.ndtv.com. From all of us here, the entire Urban Planet team, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.